Corey Haim, and boy, they have a story to tell.
That's right. They were known as the two Coreys. They were best friends, co-stars, and they had some wild times growing up together. But there are also dark stories of drugs and alleged molestation. And now Corey Feldman says he is sharing part of it in the biopic, A Tale of Two Coreys, but he claims there's much more that he is holding back. They were the teen heartthrobs of the late 80s. And together, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman starred in films like The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
And License to Drive.
It is a license to live, a license to be free.
Now in his new Lifetime movie, A Tale of Two Coreys, executive producer Feldman documents how the child stars' lives spun wildly out of control after years of partying, drugs, and alleged abuse by Hollywood insiders. How would you describe your friendship with Corey Haim?
Volatile. You know, every day it was either we were like closer than brothers or we were at war.
This was supposed to be our big thing, man.
I mean, we got into fistfights, but we loved each other that much. That's what brothers do.
You've said that this film is the G-rated version of an X-rated story.
That's very true.
How watered down is this version?
It's very watered down. It does veer you from the truth. What you see in the film as the ideal of Corey being taken into a trailer by a guy in a suit, that's not really how it happened. But that's how the lawyers made me say it happened.
How did it happen?
Well, I can't say exactly how it happened because I wasn't there. I would be sued for defamation. However, I can put it into a film as part of a storyline. And that's what I intend to do. So the truth will be revealed if people donate to my campaign.
Feldman calls it his Truth Campaign, an effort to raise $1 million through crowdsourcing to fund the real film he wants to produce, one he says would include allegations of past sexual abuse by several Hollywood men. Feldman has already publicly named 2 men he claims molested him when he was a teen, but says he knew of alleged abuse by other men as well. So you know the names of the men who you say abused Corey Haim, your friend, that you witnessed them walking into a room and Corey then telling you what happened.
And also Corey telling me beforehand, hey, this happened to me. This is what happened to me when I was 13 years old. And this is why I am the way I am. That needs to be told. That person who did that damage to him and raped him at 13 years old needs to be exposed.
Will you profit from this film?
I mean, hopefully.
Hollywood has seen its fair share of scandals, but Corey Feldman is making sure the conversation about its darkest secrets is louder than ever. Feldman, a beloved child actor known for movies like The Goonies and Stand By Me, is now focused on something much bigger. Instead of acting, he's speaking out. His recent viral comments about Shad Diddy's claims and Hollywood's ongoing problem with abuse has once again put him in the spotlight.
If I'm lucky, I deserve to, don't I? I'm a director and an actor. I mean, I have to get paid for my work.
Feldman claims some of that money he raises will go towards the film production and charity. Do you understand your critics, though? Because so many women have come forward and told their stories without any security teams or without any legal
but those women,
defense in place.
Half of them got paid off. I didn't get paid off. I was
Not
a kid.
all of them got paid off.
I said half of them.
But if your goal is to protect other children and to stop this from happening, why wouldn't you release all the names? We are in totally new waters now. When you say something, you're believed in a way you weren't before.
Okay,
and
that's
now
nice
investigations
of you to say. So when the lawyers come after me and they start arresting me, are you going to be there to defend me? The bottom line is I'm not an accuser. I am a victim and I'm a survivor. I have done what I have done to try and help other people, it's true. But at the end of the day, I'm a producer of a movie.
Feldman says he has not been offered any free legal protection to defend him if he were to reveal more names.
I am making the movie to expose my truth. I'm not just gonna throw it out there and be slain down. If you or anybody else wants to tell me that you're willing to give me the legal protection that I need, let's go.
Now the 46-year-old says he is continuing his fight to honor Haim, who died of pneumonia in 2010. What do you think Corey Haim would say about what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish?
He's the one who asked me to do it. I'm doing this for him, for his memory. We were just 2 normal kids that just wanted to experience life together, mature together. Henceforth, if I hadn't been put with a molester, I would never have done drugs. I would never have been arrested. I would never have had these terrible things happen in my life. And we would be having a very different conversation today.
Feldman says he told police about his abuse back in 1993, but investigation was never pursued. After apparently missing for years, those recordings of his interview with police were recovered just last month and turned over to the LAPD. Feldman is hoping a new investigation is launched into those men, but the LAPD will not comment on the matter. A Tale of Two Coreys premieres this Saturday, January 6th on Lifetime.
Sounds like we're going to hear a lot more.
Sir.
Okay, Amy, thanks very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.
Corey Feldman's voice carries weight because he's not just an outsider pointing fingers. He's someone who has personally lived through the abuse he speaks out against. For years, Feldman has been an outspoken critic, sharing his own experiences to shed light on the abuse that often stays hidden behind the glamour of Hollywood. Now with Diddy facing multiple charges related to sexual assault, Feldman is speaking out even more strongly.
I was to do this by making a film that would be the most honest and true depiction of child abuse ever portrayed, by telling my own story in a very real way.
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
A 1980s teenage heartthrob, Feldman became best known for his roles in movies like The Goonies, The Lost Boys, and Stand By Me.
Keep me on TV. Sure, we'll be heroes.
But along with the fame, Feldman says he learned firsthand about Hollywood's big secret, a secret he tried to reveal without naming names.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. And they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business. And children aren't supposed to handle that sort of stuff.
Humiliation. I know, I've been through it. But that's all over now.
Feldman has long claimed as young actors he and fellow child star Haim were molested by older men in the entertainment industry. Allegations he also wrote about in his 2013 memoir, Choreography.
I've been living in fear and been living with this my entire life.
But this morning, Feldman's latest proclamation drawing criticism from Haim's mother, Judy, who tells NBC News she wants her son's name left out of it, saying, quote, if he finally decides to release names and tell the world who they are, for the sake of more victims, I'll be 100% behind him. But if he's waiting to release the names in the movie, I don't support that. He doesn't need $10 million to do it. And Corey Feldman joins us now live. Corey, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Matt.
You reacted to that comment sitting here. I'll get to that in a second. This is very personal for you.
Yes,
it's very emotional. It's something you've talked about for years. Let me start by asking you, how prevalent is what you're talking about in Hollywood today?
I believe there's a lot of darkness in Hollywood right now, and I believe it's been there for quite some time. And as we've seen with the Harvey Weinstein scandal, it continues to unfold. New names come forward every day. Now there's names of misconduct with Kevin Spacey, with this, child actor who came forward today. It's going to continue unraveling. This is just the beginning. It's just the tip of the iceberg. So everything you're seeing is building up to what I believe is going to be a dam-breaking opening.
So let me talk about this Corey's Truth effort. You want to raise $10 million. You want to produce and direct this documentary.
It's not a documentary.
It's a film.
I need to stop you there. It is a film. I want to make a feature film, which is why we need the budget that we need. There's actors, there's scripts, there's special
effects. Is it going to involve real people, real names of people active in Hollywood right now?
It will be a very true story. We will have every name that everybody that affected my life. I'm going to give the perspective that I can give, what I viewed, what I experienced from a first-hand account.
In all fairness, though, we've been down this road before with you, and you have promised in the past to name names.
Never.
In your book, you said when you were talking about your book, you said you were going to blow the lid off.
This is why I'm doing this, because when I wrote my book, the publishers prevented me from writing the names down.
That's what I meant by we were down this road before. Yeah. We didn't get the names we were promised last time.
Which is why I'm taking the matter into my own hands, and this is why I need America's support. I need the world's support, because I must make a film with no executives, no VPs.
Why do you need $10 million? Film students make movies.
In a recent interview, Corey Feldman called the situation repulsive and explained that his anger and frustration are not just for himself, but also for the victims who never had the chance to speak out. He showed deep empathy for those affected by Diddy's alleged actions and expressed his hope for justice. However, as Feldman pointed out, the justice system can be slow in cases like this, and the final outcome is never certain.
fraction.
We're about to brain student. We're talking about a theatrical release. We're talking about I'm going to four-wall the theaters, I'm going to self-distribute, self-market, make the film, and hire a team of attorneys who are going to protect me and the film when everybody comes out.
Dave, you raised just under $200,000, correct?
Okay.
Isn't that about right? So it's going to take a long time to raise $10 million.
2 months.
And you just told me that this is still prevalent in Hollywood. So every day you wait, every day you try to raise money, I would imagine you believe that children are being abused by pedophiles in Hollywood.
Absolutely.
So why are you sitting down talking to me? Why aren't you sitting down with the police right now?
I've told the police. In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information, but they were scanning Michael Jackson. All they cared about was trying to find something on Michael Jackson.
Who you said, by the way, did not abuse you.
Who Michael was innocent, and that was what the interview was about with the police in 1993. I told them he is not that guy, and they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate. And let me push this forward. There are thousands of people in Hollywood who have this same information. Why is it all on me? Why is it if I don't release the names in the next 2 months, 6 months, or a year, I'm the bad guy? I'm the victim here. I'm the one who's been abused. I'm the one who's trying to come forward and do something about it. Hold on, please, I'm sorry. There are thousands of people out there, Matt, who have this information. Any one of those child actors that went to the teenage soda pop clubs with me when I was a kid know who those people are and the people who ran it. Anybody can go back through history and look at the teen magazines and say, what was the name of that venue they were all promoting and who ran that venue and who endorsed it?
You've said you've had death threats.
Yes.
Because you have this information
Yes.
and have threatened to expose it. Another reason, I think, to go to police, that's a crime to threaten someone's life.
I've gone to the police with that as well.
And what would be wrong with going to the police now again? Didn't work out in Santa Barbara.
There's a statute of limitations, Matt, in the state of California, which protects people. It's not that way in New York. It's that way only where the movie industry is, conveniently enough, in California. That's the seriousness of this. You cannot, because if I were to go to the police, I would be the one who's getting sued. Henceforth, I need a team of lawyers and I need a team of security to be around me at all times to keep me safe so I can get this message done. I'm not playing around. It's serious stuff, and I vow I will release every single name that I have any knowledge of. Period. And nobody's going to stop me this time, as long as people support this.
Corey Feldman.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you.
Good to see you. We're back right into these messages and your local news.
Diddy's case has shocked many, but not those who have been aware of the darker side of Hollywood. The charges against him paint a disturbing picture, including accusations of running a criminal operation, using threats and violence to control people, and even abusing minors. While these claims are hard to believe, they are familiar to Hollywood insiders like Corey Feldman.
These are the allegations. Let me bring in our special guest, joining me, author and certified mental health counselor who specializes in child abuse, neglect, and trauma, Sharonda Brown. All right, Sharonda, if this allegation is true for a 13-year-old, what type of trauma are we talking about?
We're talking about extensive trauma. We're talking about frontal lobe issues, temporal lobe issues, where we're talking about memory. We're talking about an increase in anger, an increase in frustration. We're talking about sensory fragments where you remember sense of smell. You remember everything, every little detail because you're stuck there and you can't progress and you can't move forward. I think there are also other things we have to consider. In studying this case, the alleged victim reported that she, struggles with autism and she had a brain injury. And so when you add those factors in there and she has a history of epilepsy, those things also affect memory. And I think that that's the part that's going to make this pretty challenging. But in the effect that there's some sexual trauma there, there's going to be a lot to pull apart with a case like this.
Okay, now the lawsuit says after the alleged rape, the teen ran from the party and called her dad to come pick her up from a gas station. Chloe Mellis at NBC News spoke to the unnamed accuser and her father in this investigative report.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me.
I think it's difficult to tell someone who says they've been raped in the way that she explains it, that they haven't been. So I can't necessarily question her truth. I think it's important to note that those around her who she named that was also involved in or supported her during this tough time, they don't remember the situation. And so I think that those raise flags. But I also think that there is a lot of struggle with memory. And if we're talking about drug use, and like I said, we're talking about temporal lobe issues, then we are talking about questionable memory. How much do you remember? How much can you say was fact versus how much is maybe vicarious trauma? And what vicarious trauma is when you've heard the narrative so many times that you begin to believe that it's your narrative, and you will take on these feelings, beliefs, and ideas as if they're yours. And I think with all the other things she has going on, those are things that will come into question if she was someone that I was seeing. Not necessarily questioning her truth about being raped, but I would definitely explore all those possibilities.
And how about the passage of time here? We're talking about 24 years later, right? This goes back to 2000. It's 2024. Going back 24 years to remember something that...
For Corey Feldman, this issue is not just about Diddy. It's about a system that has allowed abusers to stay in power for years. He believes Hollywood's biggest problem has always been this abuse. And his journey to expose it started years ago when he spoke out about his own painful experiences. He shared heartbreaking details, including the tragic story of his best friend and fellow child actor, Corey Haim, who he believes suffered greatly because of the abuse he went through.
To you when you were 13, how accurate would you expect those memories to be?
I think when it comes to trauma victims, 20 years ago feels like yesterday. So I do think that there is some details that they will remember. They will remember scents. They will remember sounds, voices. They will remember all that as if it just happened yesterday. So I don't think that the time frame of it all, plays a huge factor. Now, I do know that there are some clients who will block things out, but the minute you start unraveling, it will come to them with such clarity. So I don't think that 20 years ago makes any difference to a trauma victim, because to them, it feels like yesterday or like they're still in the moment. And that's what hypervigilance is.
And is there any way from your perspective when you're talking to someone to work through to figure out what is an actual memory versus what is perhaps, your mind playing tricks on you or some impact from the trauma itself? Is there any way to peel back any of those layers, or is it just is what it is?
No, I have many tools that I use to peel back those layers. I definitely create trauma narratives, or I allow the client to create the trauma narrative. I do dissect what they've been watching, who they've been speaking to, what they've been listening to, because sometimes those things did see that somewhere else, or I heard that, or I've owned that and it doesn't belong to me. But that also comes with doing really good extensive trauma work. So I think someone definitely should sit down with her and piece apart what is it that is real versus what you feel, because making mistakes in a situation like this is pretty critical and pretty crucial. So it's important to be very clear.
Sharonda Brown, always great insight. We appreciate your valuable time. Thank you so much. All right.
You're welcome.
My think tank's still with us. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brandt. So Jay-Z responded very quickly now after this latest revelation and said this incident didn't happen, and yet...
In 2011, Corey Feldman shocked the world by saying in an interview that Hollywood was full of abuse. At the time, people didn't believe him and even made fun of his claims. But as more survivors have come forward and scandals like Diddy's have emerged, it's clear that Feldman was right. He wasn't exaggerating or looking for attention. He was trying to warn everyone.
According to your lawsuit, you were hired by a security firm to work security at one of the infamous white parties that was thrown by Sean Combs in the Hamptons. What was that experience like?
At first, he was incredibly friendly, very gracious.
So you had a friendly chat, and then, according to your lawsuit, at some point later in the night, Sean Combs himself offered you a drink. This didn't come from staff or someone holding a tray of drinks. It came from him directly.
Correct. The first drink started to have some effect on me, and I just thought, wow, these are really strong drinks. It wasn't until the second drink, and it was already too late, that I realized that there was something wrong with the drinks. Sadly, Sean Combs was waiting in the wings. He was watching from some sort of vantage point. And once I was in a helpless position and he was sure that he was in a position of power, then he took advantage of the situation.
You allege that you were forcibly pushed into an SUV by Sean Combs. That act alone, according to your lawsuit, left you in considerable pain. And then once inside the vehicle, your lawsuit says plaintiff was held down by Combs, who overpowered him while he struggled to escape due to the effects of the drugs in his system. And it goes on to say that he sodomized you.
I was screaming. I was telling him to stop. It was incredibly painful. And he was acting like it was nothing. And he seemed to be disconnected from it. But it was abusive beyond belief.
All right, CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister, who's doing really amazing reporting on this subject, is here with your exclusive. What was it like to sit down with this man?
You know, John, this was the first time that he has told anyone other than his attorneys this story. He, as you see, we concealed his identity. He filed his lawsuit back in October as a John Doe. He says that he wants to keep his anonymity because he wants to keep some semblance of his life private, but that's a difficult thing to do, to sit down and tell your story to a stranger as a journalist. So I asked him, why now? Why are you coming forward now? And he said that he did not know that there were other accusers of Sean Combs out there. He only found out from seeing news reports. And there was one report he saw that there is somebody who alleged that they were 9 years old when they say that they were abused by Sean Combs. And this John Doe that I sat down with, he said, if a 9-year-old could do it, then I could do it. And it made him feel like he wished that he spoke out before because he could have prevented children from allegedly being abused. Now, as I said, this lawsuit was initially filed back in October of this year. So these claims are not new, but this is the first time that he sat down. In fact, John, this is the first time that any accuser of Sean Combs has sat down with the media for an interview.
What makes Corey Feldman's story even more powerful is his determination. Despite facing backlash, doubt, and even threats, he has stayed committed to his mission. Over the years, he's released a memoir and a documentary, each uncovering more of Hollywood's darkest secrets. His revelations are not just accusations. They are a call for change.
Now, I want to play you a bit more of what he told me about these allegations, what he says happened that night in 2007, but I do want to warn our viewers that what he says is graphic and disturbing.
I was screaming. I was telling him to stop. It was incredibly painful. And he was acting like it was nothing. And he seemed to be disconnected from it. But it was abusive beyond belief.
Now, he says that not a day has gone by where he hasn't thought about this. He said that when something like this happens to you, which is, of course, his allegation that he was drugged and sodomized by Sean Combs back in 2007, he says that it impacts every part of your life. He says that he has not been able to carry on with relationships. He says that he did not tell his wife at the time, who he was married to when this allegedly happened to him. He hasn't told family members or coworkers. And again, that is one of the big reasons why he wants to remain anonymous.
Incredible to hear him tell this story. All right, Elizabeth Wagmeister, thank you very much. Sarah.
All right, joining us now, CNN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson to discuss more about this. All right, first of all, this is a civil lawsuit. It is not part of the criminal prosecution, but in hearing this, and now that he is coming out to speak, could it be?
So we'll see. There's a lot that has to be unpacked, right? The first thing is remember, Sarah, that this was an amended complaint. Why do I say that, and why is that significant? It's significant because initially when it was filed in October, there was the indication that it happened in 2007, right? Learning, however, that P. Diddy was in St. Tropez then, so it could not have happened then. So it was amended to include, right, the year after, okay? That's a problem. There was also the indication initially that, right, he wasn't married, and now we're learning he is. Why do I say that? Because every case turns on its facts. So if you're going to determine, right, civil, it's a civil case, it involves monetary damages, not criminal, you're going to assess the credibility of it. Now, attorneys for, of course, P. Diddy are going to have a field day with that, of course, because when you sit down with your lawyer, you verify. Your lawyer doesn't say, oh, that's what happened. Okay. You verify it. You vet it. You ensure that it's factually accurate. And so therefore, I think those two distinctions are going to be very important. Would you have not known that you were married at this time? Would you have not known? Should you have shared it with your spouse? Potentially not. It's embarrassing.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and stay informed. Stay tuned for more updates, and let's keep our news accurate.